Yo, 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 what's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads out there? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
Excellent.
Awesome. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
Everybody out in the world, hope you're doing great. It is cold in Chicago. Our driveway and all the driveways in the neighborhood were like a sheet of ice that you could have played friggin' ice hockey in and wore skates and skated around between driveways.
Yeah.
Between the sidewalks and the driveways, you could just skate
It's
to everyone's
nuts.
driveways around the neighborhood. It was crazy how much ice has built up over the weekend. It was nuts.
We had like a little misty day, and then the temperature dropped, and then
Slick as looked like it was smooth, and
Yeah.
if you didn't really look down,
it just looks wet.
yeah.
Everything
So
looks
hopefully
wet,
everybody's
but-
safe and that got some of this ice on their driveway. And in Chicago and in Illinois, it's 9 degrees right now. That's out at the wind chill, so that ice ain't going anywhere for a hot minute. So be safe out there, everybody. Don't slip. Be careful of black ice too on the roads. Be safe, and hopefully everyone's doing well. We did it, Mrs. Weedman.
We did it.
We started our own YouTube channel.
We did.
We did. And to start off 2022, we said big things to come, and our YouTube channel's up and running. It's Weedman 420 Space Chronicles is our YouTube channel. We're so excited. Our little niece, Littles, designed it all for us. She's only 16 years old, so thank you, Littles, out there. We appreciate you making that anime for us, and Shoddy doing a great job with the putting the YouTube channel together for us, our producer. So we want to thank everybody for watching that, and we had a lot of requests about a YouTube channel, so it's the start. So we're pretty excited about it. Hopefully you all enjoy it, and let us know what you think. So it is Weedman 420 Chronicles / YouTube. So .com, I guess.
Check it out.
Check it out. It's pretty funny. I love it.
Let us know what you think.
Yeah,
I think it's
absolutely.
pretty cute.
Absolutely. You ready to start the show?
I'm ready.
I'm ready too.
Yeah.
I said on the last episode, we talked about some of the predictions for 2022 from one website. Well, this one is a little bit different. We're going to talk about the top 6 cannabis predictions of 2022 from BDSA, which is a resource that they really look at all the numbers and around the country on cannabis in Canada and stuff like that. So let's see what they say about the 2022 predictions. 2021 has been a breakout year for legal cannabis market in the United States. BDSA expects the U.S. legal cannabis market to reach a whopping $25 billion by the end of 2021, representing a 40% increase over 2020. But it won't stop there. In 2022, they're expecting it to be a nearly $30 billion industry, continuing to be a driving force behind legal cannabis sales worldwide over the next 5 years. The U.S. growth is being driven by key factors across states and stages of legalization. Mature cannabis states such as California, Oregon, and Colorado continue to see massive growth. New legal cannabis states such as Illinois, Massachusetts, Michigan, and new medical markets are developing at an ever-increasing rate. Emerging legal cannabis states like New York that recently legalized are expected to yield huge contributions to BDSA's forecasted market growth out to 2026. So here's what they see, some predictions they see that's going to change in the market, better, worse, whatever. Number 1, classifications. Indica sativa hybrid. You've heard us talk about this before with classifications of those 3. They're saying that it will fade away as a designation of the consumer experience. Cannabinoid content and terpene-driven benefits are the way of the future. 2, brand recognition will grow, and dare we say brand loyalty will emerge. I'm going to read this whole part, though. Consumers still do not name reputation of a brand as a top 10 influencer of their purchasing decisions. However, this website says Consumers Insight tracks 20% of cannabis consumers saying brand reputation influences their product choice. Branding is still primarily a communication tool to link to the good product experience. Consumers are more likely to choose a product that is familiar, a brand they have used before, or one that has been recommended by a friend or a family member. As a brand continues to drive consistent expected experiences and cross borders, greater recognition and loyalty will emerge. You see that with not even just cannabis brands, but just brands in general. People will be loyal to this one brand or this one bar or this one restaurant or one something because they're loyal to it and they like it. It's a good product. It's quality. And you could see that happening. I see it happening now a little bit more and more where people will gear to what they like and stick with it. Number 3, more blatant quality cues will drive greater pricing differentiation. As the biggest brand continue to expand. You were laughing at me, I know. Pronounce it for me, Mrs. Weedman.
No, it's fine. You're fine. Keep going. You're fine.
As the biggest brands continue to expand their product line, price
Differentiation.
thank you, driven by product features, benefits, technology, innovation, and quality, will emerge in a bigger way. In California, for example, live resin is broadly accepted as having a higher quality than other vape cartridges extraction methods. As such, it is tracking live resin carts to represent over a third of the total vape sales in the state, up from 10% in 2019. And these products also make over 3/4 of the top-priced items in the category. Further, consumers of edibles are willing to pay a premium for unique additional ingredients in gummies. Gummies that also contain CBD are on average price 20% higher than their sales have increased 40% between the second quarter of 2020 and 2021. Taking that further, the addition of CBN and CBG enables pricing up to 20 to 25% higher in the California market. The race for global cannabis dominance is well on its way, but traditional CPG will not lead the way. We see this already, the global market going crazy. More and more countries get involved. We see distribution from overseas from Canada, from African countries. It's going to be big, and whoever's going to get in there first is going to rule. 5, the FDA will continue to limit the potential of the mainstream CBD market indefinitely. Number 6, vape will continue to survive and thrive despite more reputational hits. I'll read this one too. After experiencing major disruptions, being the subject of the first public health crisis, the cannabis industry, vape has solidified its place as the top cannabis product category. A concern grew over the e-cigarettes and vaping-associated lung injury crisis in the summer of 2019. Monthly vape dollar sales across the country tracked markets dropped over 10% between August 2019 and November of 2019, signaling trouble for the fast-growing segment of the industry. However, BDSA tracked legal cannabis vape sales, rebounded after the low point in November of 2019, as news spread of the EVALI was linked to vitamin E acetate additives in illicit vapes. While vape sales slowed slightly during early months of the pandemic, the category is once again seeing strong performances, making up 25% of the dollar sales, finding that consumers claim the ease of use, portability, convenience, and discretion are the top reasons for choosing vape product benefits that few other inhalable product categories provide. While some concerns about the health risks of vaping linger, as evidenced by an October 2021 study, suggests that cannabis vapes may carry the risk of heavy metal exposure, which we've talked about plenty on this, but people still like their vapes. They still really like the vapes, and I use them too. I don't use them all the time, but people like them. They're easy, convenient. You can travel with them. The THC content's pretty high on there. You get some great live resin carts out there, distillate carts with added terpenes in it, and people like them. They're convenient. So hopefully that helps with the 2 articles I read on the predictions of 2022 and what happened in 2021. I mean, you're going to see more and more of this, and it's going to be very interesting in the next 5 years how this cannabis industry is really, really going to play out, especially when it goes federally legal. We need to smoke.
Oh, yeah.
Let's smoke.
Whoa, what the heck?
Let's smoke. I got excited.
We keep forgetting.
I get excited.
How do we forget to smoke when
I
this
don't know.
is a show about smoking?
It is a show about smoking, that's for sure.
Well, I'm going to smoke.
Smoke it up.
I had my very first root canal today, so I'm looking forward to this.
Yo.
I have a little headache. I have a little cheek ache.
A little cheek ache.
What am I smoking?
We are smoking the Weedman 420 Chronicles experimental strain. Still got about a half ounce left of that, and it's the rest of it's like toppers. So there's gonna be we've been smoking it all weekend, so I love it. So Mrs. Weedman's gonna talk now while I hit this bowl.
Yeah.
What is the difference between the highs?
The highs, you can get a body high. You can choke a lot when you smoke too much. You can get a body high. You can get a head high, right? This article refers to the head high as a mind high. Well, do you like a body high or do you like a mind high? And how can you tell the difference? Not all highs are the same, and we absolutely have our favorite inclinations. Among experienced cannabis users, it's notable that the kind of high you experience has a lot to do with your preferred cannabis strains, along with how the strains are consumed. To make quick work of the various types of highs, it's useful to revive our recollections about the various types of cannabis plants. There are 2 significant arrangements in which cultivars bunch their plants, sativa and indica, and each has a distinct appearance and properties. A lot of individuals accept that the impacts of each are parallel. Sativa plants will give you a wonderful mind buzz of a head high, while indica will bring about a relaxed body high. Sativas are most connected with the brain's high or cerebral impacts. Indica strains, on the other hand, give the body high, typically known by sensations of total unwinding and sometimes sedation. Indica strains are great for evening use. Indica is useful for unwinding or attempting to rest. That impact on the body can likewise be an extraordinary assistance for relief from pain, and the unwinding component implies it is regularly suggested for nervousness. It is additionally considered to be a hunger energizer for some. In this way, indica strains are known for giving clients a greater body high as opposed to a head high. Sativa strains are said to cause more cerebral impacts, ideal for daytime. These impacts are undeniably strengthening, assisting consumers with feeling more ready and able to handle active work or innovative undertaking. A body high is usually connected with indicas and depicts a casual, chilled-out feeling. You can feel your muscles unwind, stress depleting from your body, and they can help you get a decent night's rest. The body high is really brought about by how cannabis collaborates with your cerebrum, adequately quieting down. That's exactly how I would say it.
Mm-hmm.
It just quiets you down. It quiets down the quick correspondences between cells in your sensory system and setting off that sensation of extreme unwinding and elation. That is the reason, despite it being known as a body high, indica strains give your mind the chance to unwind. A mind high, on the other hand, identifies with expanded energy levels, inspiration, and a surge of innovative reasoning regularly connected with sativa consumption. Mind high feelings can cause you to feel very active physically, and you might end up making faster mental associations. Regardless of whether you're going to set out on an activity, go to a large get-together, or maybe you need to encounter exceptional imagination, a sativa high might activate that powerful cerebral experience and get you into the zone. How do you tell the difference between body high and mind high? Well, a sativa mind high produces immediate mood-altering effects. A couple of good hits and sensations of happiness, energy, and delight may overpower the cerebrum. Relaxed red eyes will result as the scope of psychoactive impacts happens straight out of the door. Indicas explicitly offer more of a soothing impact or body high. Normal qualities of body high are sensations of laziness or couch lock, clumsiness, strolling, shivering, increased affectability, and uplifted sexual mindfulness. Indicas assist you with loosening up, allowing you the ability to enjoy a chill night with your family and friends. Mind highs, though, are frequently joined by a recognizable improvement of specific mental cycles, like imagination and association, for instance. There is additionally an increment in the oral and visual limit that appears to put new life into even the most ordinary exercises. Sativa users can often do advanced physical and mental exercises, while indica-type body highs will generally leave users significantly less functional. I'd say. Body highs are infamous for creating episodes of amazing apathy, sensations of loss of motion, deadness, and surprisingly out-of-body encounters. I agree. As indicated by WebMD, smoking pot can build your pulse by as much as twice for up to 3 hours. This expanded bloodstream upgrades the psychoactive impacts created by the cerebrum. For certain smokers, a raised pulse can cause sensations of frenzy and really instigate nervousness instead of giving help. Affected by a body high, it is more normal to feel your pulse dialing back as well as beating. Indicas are by and large a preferable choice for tension help over sativas, as they normally quiet the body and diminish the signs of pressure. Indica's profound unwinding functional characteristics are an ideal counterpart for clinical cannabis patients who experience the effects of constant illness, muscle fits, headaches, sleep deprivation, and a large group of different conditions. On account of its amazing quieting impacts, this is an incredible option for clinical consumers who need to depressurize or rest. While indicas might be better for treating nervousness, anxiety, and social issues, many benefit more from sativa use because of their capacity to expand, concentrate, and initiate creativity. Numerous religions and societies have utilized cannabis to contemplate and interface with their internal identities for centuries. So mix it up. Sometimes you need a good sativa jolt, and other times you need a solid indica slowdown. Get to know them both until you find the strains you like best.
I really like that article. It was a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really went through some
The
deep
feelings
explanation
and-
of
yeah.
the feelings and stuff. I thought it was good.
Pretty accurate.
What can you learn about your cannabis by studying the ash and soot that is left behind? I've always been taught, when you smoke, the whiter the ash, the better cured the flower is, and the better cured it is, and the better smoke you have. So you want that white ash. So I'm going to read this article. Seasoned cannabis users talk in great detail about the many ways you can determine the quality of your cannabis through a variety of factors. The most common aspects of the herb that people look at are the buds and the smell, but a lesser known aspect of it is the ash it produces. It's one thing that can tell you a lot about how clean the cannabis is. In this article, they're talking about the various colors of cannabis ash produces when vaporized or smoked, and how certain stages of the growing process can affect it. Now, I'm not an expert, and I'm not saying this for all you growers out there and all you experts out there. I'm not saying this article is 100% fact. There might be some stuff that that this article is not talking about. So if you do know, shoot me a DM, shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to read more of what you send me, and after I research it and make sure it's true. So let's get into it. Many cannabis connoisseurs argue that cannabis produces white ash. It's because the cannabis was flushed prior to harvesting. Flushing is done by some growers when the plant is approaching the accumulation of the growing process. During this practice, the plants are given clean water during the last week or so. When growing using hydroponic systems, water is usually mixed with nutrient concentrations or other things such as a salt, which affects the pH of the soil. When there is an accumulation of minerals, whether in hydroponic or soil cannabis growth systems, this can lead to nutrient burn. The symptoms of nutrient burn are yellowing or cured leaves. Though the chemicals and nutrients can also be accumulated in smaller amounts that aren't obvious until you take your first puff of weed. However, when the cannabis has a crackling sound, this can be a sign of the excess nutrients accumulated within the plant. It could also be because the curing process wasn't done properly. Flushing is primarily done to enhance the flavor of the cannabis plant, yet it's quite expensive to do so. If cannabis wasn't flushed well, this can contribute to a dark or black ash. Not all growers flush their cannabis, but professional cultivators know that it's a key process for growing quality cannabis. Curing. Other people believe that curing affects the ash. This process, which is done in food and not just cannabis, means that the plant matter is prepared to be stored for long periods of time. With cannabis, plants are cured by letting them dry or hang out for up to 2 weeks. Once growers notice that most of the moisture has disappeared, the cannabis buds are then kept in an airtight container for around 6 weeks. When cannabis is cured during this time, an excessive moisture is kept in the container. Any gases can be released during intervals. It will allow bacteria to get rid of any of the residual compounds that could affect the end flavor. Many growers believe that curing plays an important role in the overall smoothness and flavor, and it also affects the quality of your smoke. Other best practices in growing for better ash. For cultivators to improve the smokability of cannabis, there are other things you can do while growing it. Turn off growing lights a few days prior to harvest. Now, I've read a bunch of stuff online and a bunch of people who I follow and a bunch of people who groups I follow on all different social media platforms. Some people do it, and some people say it doesn't make a difference. I because of what I've read, I've done it on a few of my grows where I did it for just 24 hours. Some people say 48, some people say 72, but 24 seems to be, or 48 seems to be the one that everybody does that I read for the home growers. Now, I don't know about big commercial growers or big cultivation growers or even small cultivator growers, what they do. So if someone wants to school me and teach me about that, I'd be happy to learn. So, but this is, when they turn off the lights, decreasing chlorophyll content rapidly before harvest, especially in the last 2 days before, will decrease the starch and sugar content, has been proven to improve smokability, resulting in a whiter ash. This is what this article says. Reduce temperature in the last few days of flowering cycle, decreasing temperatures while enhancing purple colors, especially to strains that are genetically predisposed to it. Studies show that doing so will also degrade chlorophyll, but also be sure to eliminate humidity, which can be difficult with lower temperatures. Ash color. If you truly want to see how clean your cannabis is, smoke it. Then observe the ash. If the ash color is that of a darker gray or black, that can mean that there were many unwanted compounds or even minerals in the cannabis you consumed. But if the ash color is white or light gray, then the consensus is that cannabis is very clean. If the ash turned black or dark gray, this can mean that the cannabis wasn't cured or flushed properly. When the growing process leaves minerals of unwanted sugars because of improper curing, the smoker can observe a feeling of throat burning as well as dark ash. Other aspects to look out for. Aside from the color of the ash, there are other things you can observe when smoking your cannabis. One is the texture. Good quality and clean cannabis has a delicate and light texture. If it was harvested leaving leftover fertilizer, fungicides, or pesticides, then the ash will come out as hard and grainy. Generally speaking, you want the ash to be similar to a fine powder. You can test it by taking a few puffs to see if it will produce any ash that you can examine. Then take note of the texture at different times of smoking the joint in order to get more accurate results. You can use your sense to learn more about the quality of your weed too. Visually look out for mold at all times. If cannabis has any signs of mold, discard it immediately and don't even consider cutting it out then smoking it. On top of that, avoid consuming cannabis that is brownish or yellowish in color. Use your nose. 2. Cannabis always has a very specific scent which will get you to identify better the more you consume cannabis. Always avoid cannabis that smells grassy or like hay. And here's the conclusion. Learning the many ways to identify better quality cannabis is a terrific way to start growing to know the plant better. This helps especially if you eventually want to learn how to grow your own cannabis. I thought it was an interesting article, and I know I've talked about ash before, but not so in depth. And I'm not an expert, so if there's people out there that know more than this article that I researched and read, let me know, and I'll be happy to read it and even give you a shout out too if it's true. So I always ask my guy Wes. So Big Earl 217, baby. Ethics.
Yep.
Being ethical.
Yeah. There's an article here about being an ethical shopper. I think I touched on that a little bit last week too. The new ethical purchasing standard every cannabis user should try this year. Someone once told me that the only true power the people ever had was where they spend their money.
That is fucking...
Right?
The power of that, besides your vote, but the power of money, like where you use to spend it, is like, that's us as being consumers.
Yeah.
Have the control and power, you know?
Yeah. In other words, the consumer's true power lies in their choice of supplier. In simpler terms, if there is no one buying your stuff, you're not making any money. This is a consumer superpower, and while individually it might seem that one person's action could not possibly make a significant impact on a business, the truth of the matter is that even if one person finds a reason not to buy from a particular brand, it can mean that then other people could also find reasons. When enough reasons to avoid a particular brand are adopted in the marketplace, a business essentially dies due to a lack of revenue. This is something that we as cannabis consumers should keep in mind as we enter into a new era of cannabis. While the victory for illegal cannabis is still being fought on a federal level, big corporations are swooping in on the local legalized landscapes, trying to gobble up the market before anyone else has a chance to participate. Companies like Acreage Holdings, where John Bonner, former Republican Speaker of the House and staunch opponent of cannabis, flip-flopped his stance for a board position with the company. They are suing local governments now in order to keep them from creating local residency clauses within cannabis legalization. Essentially, these clauses would mean that a license holder would have to have lived in the area for a set period of time to qualify. This would immediately make it impossible for big conglomerates such as Acreage Holdings to operate within these areas. This is why last year they sued the District of Maine over these clauses, as reported in Forbes' article. They wrote them. When it benefited them, they wrote them. And now it'll benefit them not to have them, so now they're going to fight them.
Right, and I read
people.
I read an article last week about, it was New Hampshire or Rhode Island, about wanting to keep it in their own state only, state residencies to have their license, and there you go, even
There you
more.
go.
Yep.
A federal judge in the District of Maine ruled that residency requirements violate the U.S. Constitution's Dormant Commerce Clause, which reserves the power to regulate interstate commerce, which, even though interstate cannabis is illegal, extends to cannabis and to the federal government. While constitutionally speaking, Acreage Holdings does have a legal case and would probably win in the Court of Appeals too, the point is that big, faceless corporations tend to try to circumvent or bend the rules to suit their favor. And to think that within the realm of cannabis it would be any different would be naive, to say the least. That brings us to this new point, the initial point, the superpower of the consumer. You can't blame a shark for mistaking a human for food when the human is swimming where the shark eats, right? Well, nor can you expect Wall Street millionaires to do ethical business practices when they can strong-arm the law to their favor. Therefore, the responsibility of consumption lies squarely on the shoulders of the consumer. And similarly to you not wanting to wear clothes fabricated in some sweatshop in a forgotten Asian factory, neither should you be comfortable with buying weed from companies that place profit above people. Making sure that you know your weed source should be a concern to you these days. I'm not saying that corporate weed is a bad thing. It's far from it. I think that there could be plenty of benefits from a corporate cannabis company that spends money on research and development to create products catered to a wide demographic. However, these companies need to adhere to an ethical standard. We are currently in a major transition within society, and within this transitory moment, we have the opportunity to rewire the system entirely. This includes how we interact with businesses as consumers. If you find out that a particular company is mistreating their employees or another cannabis company is cutting corners, then it should be your duty as an ethical consumer to cease to consume their products. As mentioned, this might not be enough to do any significant damage on an individual scale. However, you would be surprised to see how many people will follow suit when they learn about the reason for your boycott. And just like that, you begin a domino effect and you can create revenue disruption against the offending brand. It truly is the most effective way of taking action against corporations that violate social trust or try to game the system.
I mean, it kind of works like, if they're not happy with something, one person knows 10 people, those 10 people know 10, that's 100, 101, let's just say. And then you go up, and next thing you got 2,000, 3,000 people talking about
the power of social media right now too. If you get enough people saying something is wrong.
Yeah, well, if they like something, they'll promote it. If they don't like something, you beat it up, and then all of a sudden that business is fucked.
Yeah. This is why it's important to be informed about the products you purchase. I think that it's important, though, too, not to shame a brand or a company if it is maybe you're partially responsible for whatever went wrong. There's sometimes people, a client or a customer goes in and makes a big to-do, and really they're in the wrong. They're just being demanding.
Oh, yeah.
And then they bash a business and can really hurt.
Yes.
Especially a local business's reputation.
Yes.
When really the customer was wrong.
Yes. There's some times where mistakes happen. We got to, and you just got to sometimes just
But
walk away.
if legit they're running on bad standards, they're treating their people poorly, they're just bad business people. Frick yeah. Use social media. Yep. I think it's our responsibility. So that's why it's important to be informed about the products you purchase. To blindly trust the corporations of any products they sell you is an ignorant approach to being an ethical consumer. The fact of the matter is that many of us still buy shit when we know it's tainted with human suffering, as long as it's fast and cheap. However, when it comes to your weed, there's a sense of purity you'll want to keep within the marketplace. If we leave cannibalistic corporations to dominate the cannabis market space, we'll eventually end up with a handful of monster corporations with hardly any local competition. When that happens, these big corporations will try to buy up intellectual property and make it virtually impossible to make your own strains or competing products. They will do this by lobbying to change laws and to make the legal point of entry into the marketplace unsustainably high so that average Jane and Joe could not possibly consider investing into the market. Therefore, if you don't like big corporations coming in and date raping the cannabis industry, perhaps you need to do some research about the brands you're consuming and find out if the parent companies are allies of cannabis or simply allies of profits. I'm not saying you should boycott or not. That is entirely your decision. However, you should be making those decisions as informed as possible.
Yeah, good article. Another one. The lineup of those 4 articles, that we read in the beginning here all have, in the last episode too, just about the cannabis industry. And only we as the cannabis community can make sure it thrives in the right way and it lasts and goes forward in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the power to do it as being consumers and people, and by truly...
But we have to speak up.
Yes.
Or not buy a product just because it's really good, but the company's really bad.
Right.
Like, find another product.
Yes. There's plenty of good weed out there.
Yeah.
Or learn to grow your own.
If you can.
If you can.
If you're in a state that it's allowed.
Louisiana finally got to start selling flower in their state. And there's only 9 pharmacies. And I think there's only 2 growers in the whole state. And when it launched, the lines were long and the prices were high and people were pissed and not happy. And the 9 dispensaries, I heard it was going for like $400 to $480 an ounce in some parts. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And you're not going to get, people are not going to stop buying from the street when you get an ounce for $200, $180 or whatever it is now. So, but also pharmacies ranged in 8s, $35, $60, and $80, depending on what county or what city you were in. But that's pretty high, $80 for an 8th. And that's straight downtown New Orleans. Whew. Man. Hopefully they go legal soon and more dispensaries open up, or pharmacies as they call them there, get more. So in South Dakota, the debate again to put cannabis on the table. Man, this is just ridiculous. The voters voted it in, and they keep on just tying it up, man. It's just such crap. Keep on fighting, South Dakota. Get that shit done. Iowa Democrats unveiled cannabis resolution to put legalization on ballot for voters to decide. They're tired of the Republicans just pussyfooting around, so they're putting a bill on the table, and they're going to let the voters decide. So let's do it, Iowa. New York plans to give $200 million fund to bolster cannabis social equity goals. New York's new governor plans to create $200 million in public-private funding to support the state's ambitious social equity goals for the projected multi-billion-dollar recreational cannabis industry. Good for her. States have collected more than $10 billion in adult-use cannabis tax revenue.
I think some people are smoking.
$10 billion. It's crazy. Top Kansas Democrats unveil a plan to put medical and adult-use cannabis legalization on the ballot for 2022. Let the voters decide. And they're going to get it on there and bypass what the Republicans say and just do it. Good. Let the voters decide. Don't do state legislation and let the senators and Congress and the governor decide. You decide. You fight for it if you want it bad enough. New Hampshire lawmakers nix recreational cannabis sales for now. Boo. Boo. But it's going back on in 2022, and they're going to fight for it. So come on. Let's go, New Hampshire. New Republican-led bill would legalize medical cannabis in Kentucky. A new Republican-led bill to legalize cannabis in Kentucky landed the state legislature this week. The measure is an update to lead sponsor Jason Nemes' representative past legalization efforts and includes a number of conservative-minded adjustments aimed at winning broad support among lawmakers, including leaders of his own party who control the legislative agenda. So that's new news from the last couple articles I read. So that's good. The latest version of the bill is HB 136, introduced last Tuesday, would establish a comparatively restrictive program prohibiting both the home cultivation of cannabis and the smoking of cannabis flower. Hell yeah, home cultivation. Whole plant products would be allowed under the bill, but patients would be required to vaporize them. That sucks. You think really people are going to just vaporize? You're out of your mind. That is a stupid rule. It's just almost as bad as the Alabama fucking sticking suppositories up their ass. That is just stupid. Roll Tide. They're playing Georgia tonight, by the way. So let's see if they win. Probably a good game. But I'm here doing this show for you. Fuck that college football game. I'm here talking about cannabis with all you listeners out there.
Yeah.
Illinois cannabis sales surged to an all-time high in December. 173 million total. That's medical and recreational. The recreational was like 136 million or 135 million that beat July's numbers that I never thought those numbers were going to be beat. Crazy. They did in 2021 adult use sales of 1.38 billion, increased 106% over the same period a year ago. That's nuts. I mean, out-of-state sales are pretty big too, though. I mean, medical sales. It's crazy. Keep on going. The cannabis companies are asking Illinois Supreme Court to let the state name craft grower license winners. It's still in fucking court and all this shit. It's just, who knows, man. I know infuser licenses are going to be up and running this year, but the new 185 dispensaries and the craft grower licenses are all being held back, and now there's 60 new craft licenses that were issued back in December 21st of 2021. And they're still not named. They're still locked by this judge because of all these lawsuits and shit. So, man, I wanted some new weed. I want to see some new growers. I want to see what these craft growers can do and what they're going to be putting out there. You know? It's crazy. I wasn't a very good studier when I was a kid.
Poof.
I actually just sucked at it.
I second that.
I could not pay attention at all.
No.
I just, within like the first 30 minutes, I was done. I was a shitty student, though, everybody. So, I mean, I just, Mrs. Weedman and I talk about this. I just didn't want to be at school. This was my thing. I wanted to be outside. I wanted to be out. I wanted to just do things. And being in school was just not my thing. I mean, I passed. Don't get me wrong. I never failed anything, but just wasn't my thing. I was a C student. I wanted to see myself out the door as fast as possible.
That's funny.
But that's how I rolled. So I wonder, would cannabis help with, would have helped me? I don't know. I mean, I was too young. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I was in high school and even college, but I wonder if I would have used it or CBD or something like that too. I wonder if it would have helped me concentrate more.
I've got an article here about cannabis being used as a study aid. Will cannabis make you a better student at night? Weed is widely used in college campuses around the country. Being in university has become a time when teens and young adults experiment with drugs, and cannabis is no doubt the most popular drug of choice. Even for students in postgraduate school, cannabis has proven to be an essential drug for many reasons, and one of those is to help them study, as well as help relax from all academic stress. A new study was released in September of 21. It revealed that almost half of the college-age students around the United States admitted to consuming cannabis within the last year. Though it wasn't sure if the rise in cannabis consumption was driven by the pandemic, the highlight of it is that it helps curb booze consumption. The pandemic seems to have actually made cannabis into an alternative to escape the monotony of isolation, explains Nora Volko, the National Institute of Drug Abuse director. It made life become more boring, more stressful. So, if drugs let you experience that completely different mental state, I wonder if that would be a factor that leads people to use them. The study, entitled Monitoring the Future, was funded by the National Institute of Drug Abuse and has been analyzing drug use among university students as well as non-college students since 1980, focusing on the age group of 19 to 22-year-olds. They found that 44% of college students admitted to using cannabis in 2020, a dramatic 38% increase from 2015. They also noted an increase in daily or near daily use. While the study did not examine the reasons behind the uptick in consumption rates, it can be hypothesized that students are turning to cannabis instead of alcohol or other dangerous study drugs to deal with the stresses of academic life, study better, and relax safely, not to mention the fact that we are living in a pandemic. However, many doubt the use of cannabis as a study aid. Consumers have been stereotyped as lazy stoners, making people think that it can't help you be productive, when in fact, cannabis can actually help you focus and even make you more creative, enhancing your ability to do many activities better, including studying or work. We have to emphasize the importance of selecting the right strain and dosage when it comes to using cannabis as a study aid. Be sure to choose a sativa or a strain you are already familiar with that keeps you alert and focused before you dive into hours of study. Going with an indica or indica dominant strain is famous for causing mental and physical highs that can put you straight to bed. This is not recommended if you want to get the most out of your studying. Additionally, a controlled dosage is always recommended for the best focus. For this reason, low-dose edibles, microdosing, or vaping are great administration tools that can help you study. If you're prone to anxiety over a big exam, you may want to consider CBD or a CBD dominant strain. CBD has been proven to help curb anxiety while increasing alertness and concentration at low doses. There is no doubt that certain cannabis strains can boost creativity, too. Studies show that cannabis is effective in enabling unconscious thoughts as well as obscure ideas that you may not think of tangibly while sober. That's why there's no surprise that cannabis is widely used by artists and creatives before a creative or brainstorming session. It can even be used to fight writer's block, and your inspiration for a thesis or paper may even come after a few tokes. Furthermore, it could also be used to help you brainstorm with other students even better when it comes to group projects. Any college student can tell you that school alone is extremely stressful and hectic. Various levels of stress will inevitably be experienced by students with the combined pressure of finishing your degree. Oftentimes, this can make it difficult to relax and get proper sleep. And the irony is that you need proper sleep in order to be at your best mentally the next day. Having cannabis by your side can be extremely helpful in reducing stress and helping you go to sleep. In this case, you will want to have some indica strains to help take the edge off and go to bed. If you're interested to learn more about how cannabis can help you study better, you can visit your nearest dispensary, provided you're of legal age to use. An expert bud tender can help direct you toward a study aid specific strain, something that can help with focus. Using cannabis as a study aid may not be for everyone, as there will always be others who prefer to do things sober or with caffeine, but it's certainly much safer compared to ADHD drugs such as Adderall, which are also widely used study aids despite the dangers and risks. Due to the shortage of studies on how cannabis can be best used by students, there is anecdotal evidence, so it's best for you to experiment and see which ones work for you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
had a couple
could get on
college
board
students
with
reach
that.
out to us, too, and asked for more stuff about college students, so I'm glad we researched this article and stuff like that. Listen, I smoked cannabis in high school, but I never used it to study. And I didn't know how my parents would feel of me smoking, but I smoked on the weekends when I was out, and I smoked, sometimes before school or sometimes after school, but before my parents got home.
Yeah.
But never thought about using it for studying or anything like that. Who would have thought? But nowadays, now that the last 10, 20, 15 years, I wish I would have used it back when I was in high school and college.
Yeah.
It would have helped me out so much.
I think it would have helped.
Oh, tons. I would have paid attention. Maybe. International news. Germany's medicinal cannabis startups are blooming as its eyes move to legalize recreational use. Well, they're not going to be the first European country because Malta took care of that, but I think it's going to be them and Luxembourg next, so we'll see. But they're growing. There's a former slaughterhouse in Dresden, Germany, is now home to a row after row of cannabis plants. They were planted in November with the first harvest due in January, which will mark the first legal large-scale harvest of cannabis on German soil. Don't forget, Germany was the biggest importer of cannabis. They weren't growing. They were just importing all of their cannabis. So now that it's got their first grow in the ground, so awesome. The leaves will be turned into cannabis flower and used in legal medical cannabis products. The company behind the plantation is called Demican. The Berlin-based company was one of the 3 to win tenders from the German Cannabis Agency to produce cannabis in Germany. The 2 other companies are still working on their production. It's actually something very new. It's a unique facility that we have here in Germany, one of the only German facilities to cultivate medicinal cannabis, said Konstantin van der Groben, managing director of Demican. And what we see here is our first batch of medicinal cannabis that we're currently cultivating. The facility will then, next year, output 1 ton of dried cannabis flower, so 1,000 kilograms. Good for them. Medical cannabis products were legalized by the federal government in Germany in 2016. And now the new government, the new parties that are all in are trying to go further and legalize it totally with some legalize the sale of cannabis for recreational use to adults in specialized licensed shops. It would be similar to the legislation that took place in Canada and some U.S. states. So that's great. They got the new coalition there. They're trying to work things out. Like I said, Luxembourg are going to be next. So we'll see what happens. Good luck, Germany. Is London really going to decriminalize cannabis? And to all of our friends across the pond, thank you for listening out there. Last spring, the London mayor, Sadiq Khan, began to feel the heat in his re-election campaign. He realized he needed to differentiate himself from conservative challenger Sean Bailey, so Khan announced that if he were re-elected, he would examine the benefits of decriminalizing cannabis. On May 6th of 2021, Khan handily defeated Bailey to win the second term. And 9 months later, it emerged that the second-term mayor, a high-profile Labour politician, is planning to divert young people caught with small amounts of cannabis in parts of London away from the criminal justice system and into a traffic speeding course-style class in counselling. That's better than putting it on your record. It sucked having to go to class, though. And watch some kind of stupid-ass Reefer Madness fucking 1937 video or something. But get baked and go laugh. Leak of the report captured a news cycle in the UK on Tuesday. The Telegraph headlined a story claiming that Khan's plan would effectively decriminalize cannabis in London. Khan's team scrambled to clarify the mayor's intentions. The plan, they said, was to roll out a limited 3-district trial program for 18 to 24-year-olds, such as programs yet to be approved by the City Hall and would be robustly evaluated before the capital-wide rollout. What's the problem exactly? But many people in the UK do not believe cannabis use is a serious problem. Cannabis is seriously misunderstood in the UK, and the scheme doesn't achieve anything and simply delays the inevitable legalization process, said Marwan Elgamal, founder of THC, a leading cannabis lifestyle brand who has organized events at 420 celebrations in London's Hyde Park, attended by tens of thousands. The UK has an opportunity to introduce a process of labeling cannabis potency to help adults make informed choices, take billions out of the hands of criminals, and stop tarnishing people's life opportunities with freeing up police resources. Now it's time for our government to place trust in adults to make their own decisions rather than offering us to counsel us. Commonly consumed but still illegal, cannabis is commonly smoked on the streets of London and is easily obtainable in parts of Camden, which I've been, great area, Hackney and Notting Hill, been there too, love it, and elsewhere. Consumption is so that it sometimes can feel like the plant is legal. Clandestine cannabis clubs, in fact, have been increasingly popping up in recent years, but regular police searches over suspected cannabis possession can swiftly deliver a dose of reality, even while the number of record cannabis offenses in London has been declining year over year. Young black men are still being targeted by police in London. Needless possession cases still prosecuted. More than 1,800 criminal proceedings were brought against young people for drug possession in Lewisham. Between 2016 and 2020, according to Vogelface, roughly 90% of these were cannabis possessions. Ant Lahane, head of communications at Vogelface, said Khan announced at the Drug Commission when main opponent Sean Bailey, a law and order candidate, was creeping up on him in the polls in April 2021, ahead of the next month's election when Khan won in a runoff vote. He couldn't deliver on any of his promises. He had no idea what was going on. We came at him with this diversion project, which needed funding, and behind the scenes, he bit our arms off for it. It's going to tactical racial disproportionately, which should underpin any labor morality. It's been really bureaucratic and difficult to get this to a phase. This Tweaks Telegraph story seems to have come out when we were very close to getting it finalized. So there was a quite big frustration there. Leanne said that he remains optimistic, though. We don't think what's going to scooper the report, he said. The response has been really good and has driven good conversation. Majority of Londoners support the reform, which is awesome. National politicians won't stand up for their own policies, says in this article, and then police leaders still resist any change. So, I mean, the conclusion is here, in my opinion, is, man, some of these facts that I read in this article about possession being down and it's widely used in certain areas and people think it's legal. So decriminalize it, legalize it, and let your people be free out there when it comes to cannabis. You know, to all my friends out there in the UK, man.
I'm surprised that they're not legal already.
It's crazy. I know.
Yeah.
France approves CBD sales, but prohibits hemp flower. France is like one of the largest producers of hemp in Europe, and they still won't let you use the flower. They use it in products, or it's mostly just sold overseas and stuff. So I'm shocked France isn't even like medical there either for THC and like open.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. So hopefully they could change some shit. So there's a new documentary.
Yeah, there is.
Tell us about it.
Yep. There's a new cannabis documentary called Ladybuds. And it explores female business owners. A new cannabis film documentary titled Ladybuds explores their lives and the challenges that females are faced with in the business of cannabis. The cannabis industry has heavily benefited from niche documentaries, which present a professional way to educate viewers on the stigma of cannabis, its history within the war of drugs, or its effectiveness as a medicine. Films such as Weed in 2013 featured CNN's chief medical correspondent Sanjay Gupta, who opened up the conversation about medical cannabis to the nation. Weed the People in 2018 explored the effectiveness
Hold on.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
While you were in the middle of talk, you were able to put your chapstick on.
I had to. I've got cotton mouth. At this point, I'm in this stage of feeling high where I can't focus. So I'm
good.
kind of like reading.
I'm
all
fucking
over the place.
highly impressed.
That was good, right?
That was good. Sorry,
I do need to
interrupted.
take a sip of water for a second.
That's so good though. I couldn't help stopping you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, films such as Weed in 2013 featured CNN's chief medical correspondent, Sanjay Gupta, who opened up the conversation about medical cannabis to the nation. Weed the People in 2018 explored the effectiveness of medical cannabis for children. Grass is Greener in 2018 examined the history of music and its depiction of the war on drugs. Now it's time to enjoy a new cinematic adventure in the form of Ladybuds, a unique perspective about female cannabis business owners from all walks of life. Ladybuds recounts the lives and businesses of a diverse cast of individuals in Northern California, varying in race, age, and sexual orientation. 7 women who represent 6 cannabis businesses are featured in Ladybuds. They are Sue Taylor, Chia Rodriguez, Felicia Carbajal, Karen Wagner, and the Bud sisters, Pearl Moon and Dr. Joyce Centofanti. From cultivation to dispensary ownership and topical creation, these women all faced numerous challenges during the 2017 to 19 window when the documentary was filmed. Ladybuds presents an intimate look at the lives of each subject and also challenges the stereotypes of both stoners and women in the industry. High Times conducted an exclusive interview with director, producer, and writer Chris J. Russo in the High Times November Women's issue, where she offered an inside look at her film and what kind of experience it presents to audiences. According to Russo, Ladybuds is the first of its kind, and it all began with a statistic about women in the industry that stuck with her. A few key studies have produced some shocking data about women in the industry, or lack thereof. Back in 2015, this blows me away. Back in 2015, according to a study conducted by a Marijuana Business Daily, 36% of women held executive roles in the industry. Remember when legal cannabis was rolling out, it was power players were women.
Yes.
There were big
Yeah, and you talked about that in
really
in
intelligent
article
women
too.
making headway
Yep.
in the cannabis industry. Well, by 2017, that dropped from 36% down to 26.9%. And then, surprisingly, it increased back up to 36.8% by 2019. But shouldn't it have never dropped, right?
Shouldn't have.
Yeah. Marijuana Business Daily had a 2021 report entitled Women and Minorities in the Cannabis Industry, and it showed a continued decline both in women as well as people of color. Ladybuds illuminates the issues that women face in the industry, but also highlights the challenges of all small businesses in the cannabis industry fighting to compete with larger cannabis corporations. This film is like nothing you've ever seen before. There really hasn't been a film that showed such a wide range of areas that's just like seeing it through a female lens. Russo told High Times. In my film, you explore the challenges of the entire supply chain with the women who are directly engaged in it. I like to make films that I want to see, so I want to see more women in positions of power and roles that are very positive. So
We'll have to watch that.
yeah, we got to watch that.
What channel was it on again?
That it doesn't talk about where it was.
No? Well, look it up, and we'll look it up too and try to catch it.
Yeah, it looks like a good one.
Yeah. David Crosby, if you don't remember him, of Crosby, Stills, and Nash, or if Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Depending on which band you liked better, or if you liked them both, on growing weed, launching a cannabis brand, and the best way to roll a joint. It's no secret that the rock music legend David Crosby loves weed. In fact, he considers himself one of the top 3 pot smokers in America. Ooh, that's a challenge. After all, he was who the Beatles would call when they came to California way back when. I figured the best known is Willie, then probably Snoop, then me, he tells the Los Angeles Times in a new video interview. This is just one reason, he says, it's high time he launches his own cannabis brand, the Mighty Croz. With business partner Steven Sponder, he's already growing his own on his California property outside Santa Barbara. The True Green Thumb, he says, is his wife Jane Dance, the strain of which is still a secret stash. But it's not enough to simply launch another celebrity-backed brand. Crosby says he and his partners won't go public with their product until cannabis is legalized at the federal level. Ooh, look at that. That's interesting. We thought we'd just jump in and it would all happen. It didn't happen that way, 80-year-old Crosby says in the video. Man, he's 80? Damn. First, still sings and plays the guitar like a fucking beaut. First of all, celebrity brands didn't turn out to work anywhere near as well as everyone thought they were gonna. When you can make a national deal until you you have to make a separate deal in each state. And that's crazy. You can't do 50 different business deals. We are waiting for is seeing, and we have seen a few people who have taken the long view. And that's what we're looking for, because I want to be doing this for the rest of my life. It's easy, it's fun, and I'm suited for it. Hell yeah, I love that. Decriminalization matters. Another part of waiting to launch the Mighty Cross stems from the time he spent in jail. Seeing primarily men of color serving time for cannabis possession, Crosby says it's unfair that he be allowed to cash in on the growing legal industry. I want it legal on the federal level because I was in prison with people in there for that much cannabis, he says. The numbers are crazy and quite plain. Black people get busted more, and it's not fair. To put anybody black, white, yellow, brown, purple, pink, any color in jail for a handful of flour is nonsense. Good points there. Rolling the best joints. Among the many things Crosby talks about on social media, politics, pop culture, and music, obviously, he also critiques joints by some of his fans. Oh, thank God I never sent him one because I can't fucking roll with the shit. So I'll stuff one and see what he says. So no better person to tell you the proper way to roll a joint. It's pretty simple, he says. Use 2 sheets of paper. If they're too narrow, keep fingers damp, not wet. Keep continuous pressure underneath for a tight roll. Twist the ends, voila. And that's Crosby's way to roll a joint. And I would love to just try his weed, though, whether he ever sells it or not. If he's just growing it and his wife's just she's the grower of I'd love to just smoke it. Just to try it. The secret stash. So that's the end of the show, Mrs. Weedman. I would cry. Man, it went quick.
Well, I just actually was scrolling through and I came across this quick little article after we were just talking about corporations and things. And it said the title is Not So High Times for Chicago's Oldest Head Shop, as Adam's Apple is to close after 52 years in business. Crazy. And there's some reference to, big businesses being in the area and, it's not.
Yeah, he's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Yep.
Crazy. And on a sad note, Bob Saget.
I know.
If you don't know Bob Saget, I don't know how you couldn't know him. He's been such a big part of American television for our entire life.
And a great comedian.
And
he's been, some smaller roles in some movies and stuff like that. I mean, especially the Half-Baked movie when he got up in the AA meeting and said, "You ever smoke? You ever suck meh for cocaine when
What?
so it was from a movie Half Baked, and Chappelle was up on the stage telling that he's in rehab for cannabis, and everyone's jumping up and yelling, "You're here for marijuana? You're here for cannabis? You're here for weed?" And then he gets up and he goes, "What the? You're here for weed? That's not even a drug." Point case right there. You ever suck cock for cocaine?
That's why he
Bob
was there.
Saget. Yeah, that's why he was there.
Crazy. Well, rest in
man.
peace, Bob.
Rest in peace, Bob. Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening out there. We love you all. We appreciate you around the world. Keep on changing cannabis and keep on fighting for legalization. And we want to thank you all for listening. Don't forget to check us out on Weedman 420 Chronicles on Instagram, Weedman 420 Pod on Twitter. Say hello to Dob Boy for me, doing his back alley deals. Weedman 420 Chronicles on TikTok. And also now on YouTube, Weedman 420 Chronicles /YouTube, but make sure there's a space in the Chronicles. Check out our new YouTube channel. It's pretty fun. Also send me an email, weedman420chronicles@gmail.com. Thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate you all around the world. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.